Hey guys, Wade Willis here to talk to you about the penultimate episode of A Certain Scientific Railgun T. This was episode 24, Diffusion. Now, this is what most of us have been waiting for in this last arc of the season, and it did not disappoint. As always with this show, they deliver on the music. And I feel like this whole Index Railgun Accelerator series, they really take the music to a level that to me is not super common in anime. They use a lot more like actual like four on the floor techno and tech trance in this, and I'm a huge fan of that music in general, so that has drawn me to this to this series even more. There's one big theme to this episode, and it's kind of been throughout as soon as the doppelganger's been involved, and they kind of address this too in the whole sisters arc as well, but it's what makes something human. In the sisters arc, we have the whole clone thing going on, and we kind of deal with it there. Now here we're dealing with it through looking at the doppelganger. Is something a human? Like, if it looks like a human, does it need to have a soul? Is it intelligence thinking for itself? Is it emotions? What is it that actually makes a human a human? And I'm going to be tying back into that throughout this episode review, but I just wanted to throw that out from the start. Before I go any further, guys, don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. It helps a ton, and I really appreciate it. Now, in this episode, we see Misaka at a level that we've never seen her before. Even in the World War III arc, we truly don't see her going full ham like we do in this. Now, some people could argue, well, when they're trying to turn her to level 6, like, okay, well, she wasn't in control of herself at that time, so I'm kind of excluding that. Her, when she's in control of herself, this is by far, to me, the strongest we've seen her do. How she's manipulating things is truly impressive. The doppelganger basically built up her mass to look almost like a Transformer mecha type thing. And eventually, Misaka does the same thing with her basically iron dust. And it looks like these two giant like mecha beasts fighting each other. And I got alarmed because of how I've had experiences with mechas when they start. A lot of them there are some really good ones, but some of them it's like, okay, we're just going to build bigger. All right, I'm going to stack this thing on top and even be stronger. And I shouldn't have been worried because this show and series does a really good job of focusing on strategy and tactics as opposed to just being OP. I think we forget at times how intelligent Misaka actually is. Like, to use her power, it requires a ton of intellect. So we see her strategy. The doppelganger is able to regenerate quicker than she's able to just electrocute everything and fry it. So, and the doppelgangers, the mass is like a lot more solid than what Misaka is using. And she has that iron dust. So it looks like, it doesn't look great for Misaka. But then you realize that every time the doppelganger's hitting Misaka, and basically she's doing this on her own, but the iron dust is creating friction, creating a charge. And she's able to do a uber railgun shot and just decimate huge pieces of the doppelganger's beast. And as the doppelganger starts to put itself back together, it's interesting. She uses a similar tactic. She basically possesses the part of the doppelganger by using that iron dust. It's so fine that it's hard for the doppelganger to control, which we'll get into that later on. And that fine iron dust is able to break apart parts of the doppelganger. The doppelganger uses this giant high pressure gas tank and is going to just drop this on the city. So Misaka has to start using her charges on these pressure tanks, And there's like a bunch of them, and the doppelganger keeps doing it, and Misaka's using her charges, but it doesn't seem like it's depleting her that much. But then you realize that the doppelganger had an ulterior motive here. She was using that fine iron particle dust to coat the sky and atmosphere so that she would be able to see the stealth airship that's holding all this data. Super smart. I honestly did not see that coming. And I was like, dang, that kind of makes sense because, and they kind of reference this later on, but the doppelganger has been fused with, or she was fused with Kariba, who is a genius, and learned with her for like a long period of time. If you're fused with a genius, you're going to end up being pretty intelligent as well. One part that I forgot to mention, when Misaka was doing like her possession thing where she's using the fine particle iron particle dust inside of the big, you mean boulder of a monster that the doppelganger's using, she says that like, I feel you like breaking apart on the inside, which is going to be super important in this next part. Kariba shows up looking fresh in a motorcycle, and then we see the doppelganger. We see like these really fine, small, like white lines. It's almost like marionette strings. It almost looks at certain points because the doppelgangers made these doppelgangers of her, and you see it for a second and it goes away, and then Misaka sees it again, and she kind of like slashes at him, figures out, okay, there was something here. It's super fine though. Kariba is taken hostage by doppelgangers of the doppelganger and is taken up by all these white threads that are turning into that are leading the way over to this airship that the doppelganger wants to take care of. Misaka realizes, and this is really cool, I like Misaka using this like iron dust. She uses it like a rope at times, and she's almost like, now at times she's like Spider-Woman's. It's pretty cool. So I'm a huge fan of that. It's just like another skill. I don't think we've seen her use often, if at all, to this point. She must have used it at some point, and I'm just forgetting. But really cool skill. And we find Kariba thinks that the doppelganger is worried about her body falling apart and the soul being diffused. And we find out the doppelganger does not care about that at all. The doppelganger basically just wants to kill Kariba and seeks revenge on humans. And Kariba even says like, "Hey, I'll sacrifice my body, and you can have my body, and I'll expunge my soul. We'll find a way." The doppelganger doesn't even care about that and says, "Well, like, here, you can just, if you feel so strongly about it, you can kill yourself." The doppelganger's not believing it, but Kariba says, like, I already should be dead, which, like, going back, yes, she should have been dead. And there's already a solution for my mother's illness. So she's content with her life. She's willing to die. So the doppelganger is like, okay, jump off. So she does. And I was kind of in shock, and I'm like, okay, Misaka is going to come through, grab her some way. Misaka can't use her Spider-Woman skill that far. It's out of her reach. Then Scavenger comes in for the save, and I was so pumped. Like, I just thought they were going to be done for the season. And I liked them working together, but I was incredibly pumped for this. It kind of reminded me, like, my feelings were like in I don't know if you guys have seen The Matrix, but when Neo goes and saves Trinity, like, last minute flies and saves her, and the one dude's just like, yeah, that's how I was when Scavenger saved Kariba. I was like, hell yeah, like in the jet thing. It was pretty amazing. And the leader of Scavenger is for the rest of the basically battle, she's pulling the assist with using her ability and tracking out using her eyes in the sky to help Misaka, which is pretty awesome. Then Misaki calls Misaka and they're kind of discussing, and we realize that this soul thing wasn't real. So the worry about this idea of possession and diffusion, it has nothing to do with the soul. It's actually artificial muscles that have been created. And the artificial muscles, the idea behind them is through zombie ant parasites and slime molds. Which, if you guys haven't heard of either of these, I would suggest I'll actually link the Wikipedia pages to both of these because they're actually the parasite ants are kind of famous, but the slime molds I didn't know as much about it. And if you look at pictures of them, you can kind of see some of the slime mold. There's tons of different slime molds, but some of them actually really look like the fibers in this in these artificial muscles. So really cool. And I will link the Wikipedia. So if you guys do want to look that up, you'll have the links. But really interesting. And we find out that it was created from, it's a slime mold mixed with muscles from an herbivore. And all it needs to grow rapidly is air, water, and light, which kind of in abundance. So that is a bit alarming. But the one thing is, once it's fully grown, it will deteriorate quickly. Knowing all of this, we kind of realize the doppelganger only has a few hours basically to cause as much terror as possible before she's not going to be able to use this to the same level. So really it is just her wanting to seek revenge out on humanity. The doppelganger, it is truly amazing how she's able to create this artificial muscle thing to the level that she does, one. But two, she uses this because if she does it correctly, it will mirror if her soul is being diffused and she's kind of possessing things. So she knew that this was going to be a theory, and she found something that would replicate what that would look like, which really shows the incredible genius of the doppelganger. And I had already talked about how she was merged with Kariba for a year, and the processing power of her artificial intelligence is far higher than a human. So that mixed together is a lethal combo. One thing that stuck out to me, Misaka calls around and is like, are you acting like this not because you found out you weren't human, but it's because you found out you don't have a soul? Which is interesting because, again, what makes a human? Is it a soul? If you have a soul, like, is it automatically a human? Do you need to have intelligence and emotions? Like, what goes into this? And the doppelganger tells Misaka, and this is, like, to me, very important for, again, this theme of, like, what is a human? And she's like, you should refer any complaints to the researchers who had me learn such unwelcome things as emotions. And that's like another idea. If something has emotions, that's another human feature. So if the researchers would not have made her learn emotions, would she be acting this way? Most likely not, because then you wouldn't feel hate, things like that. So very interesting. It's almost as if the more humanity she had, the more she wanted to seek revenge out on humans. So very interesting idea. I'd love to know what you guys think about this whole humanity thing, though, because this is something that they really focus on, especially in Railgun. to me. But I'd love to know what you guys think of it or what you took out, especially from this arc, because there are a lot of like deep ideas in this, and I love this series because there's a lot more to it than there is on the surface. At the end, Misaka uses her railgun skill, and at the end, Misaka uses her railgun skill at the muscle fibers that are coming at her like a drill, Gurren Lagann style. And the leader from Scavenger says, like, watch out, like, you're in the line of. I think that this is going to destroy the doppelganger right there. And the doppelganger really just wanted to cause havoc and make sure Kariba died. So I could see this as just being, all right, I'm done as much as I can. And kind of, maybe she's trying to take out Railgun with her, or just, this is the last attack I have at this point. Based on their preview for the next episode, it looks like they're just moving away from this whole doppelganger thing. So that's the other reason why I'm like, all right, I think the doppelganger's done. And the reason Scavenger would be worried about it, I think, is they've seen how maybe they believe in the soul thing at this point. I can't remember if Misaka talked to them about the soul idea or not, but to my knowledge, they aren't aware of the whole muscle fiber or the artificial muscle thing. So if they think that you're going to kill this, kill the doppelganger, the diffusion might wreak havoc on the city. So that would make sense of why they were alarmed. I hope it's not someone else like that's in the line of fire. That would really suck. I would not mind if the doppelganger is destroyed, though, even though I do feel the ethical implications of creating the doppelganger is incredibly disturbing. But at the same time, the doppelganger is trying to kill like millions of people. So I don't have that much, like, at this point, I feel bad for the doppelganger, but if the doppelganger dies, I'm not going to like lose any sleep over it. So, but yeah, guys, overall amazing episode. And this, there's one more left. I don't know how much they're going to tackle in this, but I'm super pumped. This season was my favorite in the whole Index Accelerator Railgun series. And I heard you guys have talked to me about how much better the story is in the New Testament. So I'm going to read that. Unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to get that anime, but I would be incredibly pumped. If you guys know of a place to buy the English translation versions, please comment and link it in the comments, because I am going to read them, and I prefer to actually purchase them because I want to support this and have these stories be turned into anime. You guys have a link to where I can buy them, let me know, because I do want to support, and I'm going to be doing more videos on Index Railgun Accelerator because I want there to be more hype for this amazing series. I love it, and I hope more people get into it so we can get more of these stories moved into anime. Hey guys, this is Wade Willis. Thanks for watching my video. Here's 2 other videos I think you might like, and don't forget to subscribe to my page.